Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the garage, welcome to a beautiful summer day here in Pennsylvania. Well, I guess technically it's not summer, but a beautiful June day here in Pennsylvania. So that being said, I was actually going to do this last night, but there was kind of like a monsoon when I got home from work, so that kind of put a damper on things. But that means today we're working on the 24 valve. So obviously it being outside, monsoon, we couldn't really do anything. So we are still waiting on some parts to arrive for the truck. That being said, some parts have arrived for the truck. One thing I did forget to order our front main seal so we could kind of wrap up that portion of it. But that's okay. What we're getting into tonight has nothing to really do with the front cover area here. So tonight we're actually going to be diving under the valve cover since we have all of our rockers and all that out. Now is a good time to do some upgrades to the truck. So the truck came factory with like 215 horsepower, and I had a lot of fun driving the truck. Granted, I haven't driven it as much as I would have liked to before we kind of dove into this stuff. But that being said, it was fun to drive, but you know, a little more pep is always a lot, you know, always makes for a better driving experience. Just, yes, the thing, I can't remember the times we were running like an 18 or like a 17.5-second quarter mile according to our draggy, with our factory turbo and all that. And then with some tuning, you know, it was about like 17.5 or something like that. Not very fast, not a lot of passing power. So, of course, since we've dove into the engine this far, we might as well add some power. So that's where this stuff comes in. Actually, the bigger box is for later. But what we have here is, I can get it open. We have new fuel injectors for the truck. So we have 6 new fuel injectors for the truck from Flux Diesel Injection. Now, you guys might not know of Flux. They actually used to go by the name F1 Diesel, but I guess there was some confusion with, you know, like F1 Racing or something like that, because, you know, I guess diesel cars in that series or whatever, they decided to change their name to Flux Diesel Injection. So they also sent us a nice banner here in the garage, which if we keep partnering with these cool companies, I'm not going to have to paint this thing because, well, it really does need paint. So anyway, the guys at Flux, they've actually been doing this for like 17 years, so they know these trucks and all very well. They originally came out with new, you know, with their Mach series VP44 injectors back in 2002, I think it says on their website. So these trucks came out in 98.5, and you know, by 2002 they were making a series of injectors for it. Now what's really cool about their Mach series of injectors, and Mach is what they call their VP44 injectors, and I believe also their 12 valve injectors, but they can basically make you whatever you want, you know, ranging from a little better than stock to wild. Now the cool thing, or very awesome thing about this, you know, a lot of these trucks are high mileage. People who have them, you know, they want to replace injectors, they want to get some life out of them because these trucks just seem to keep on going. Well, their injectors in the Mach line have a 7-year warranty, which to me is 7 years is pretty impressive. So it's 2020. These injectors would be warranted until 2027. That's just pretty cool. So anyway, what we got here is actually just a 90 horsepower injector. So these injectors aren't anything completely wild or anything like that. It's not going to, you know, be like the race truck and be completely undrivable on the street. These injectors should be perfectly suited for our factory turbo. We are not going to be changing that out just yet. So we're going to have a little more pep in the step of the truck, and that way, you know, we can drive the truck, enjoy the truck and all that. We're not going to where the thing's a smoky mess or that the thing is, you know, just not streetable or anything like that. So we got 90 horsepower injectors, like I said. These are good for our factory turbo. We're not going to be hopping that up right now. Like I said, I'd really like to get this thing back together. It's summer. See if we can charge the AC and get that working, which I know is a bit of a stretch. And just drive the truck and enjoy the truck and, you know, have fun with the truck. So anyway, let's get to doing this. That's another thing. Along with our injectors, had to get new O-rings for the feed tubes. Pretty much, I've never installed VP44 injectors, but from what I've seen, it seems like it's very much like doing a common rail, where you have to get the fuel lines off, get your feed tubes and nuts out, and then you can actually pull the injector out, which is right there. But being this is a VP44, does not have the electrical connection like you would with the common rail. So to help in that, obviously, like I said, new feed tube O-rings, but we also got this set of tools from Torque Tools. It's our Cummins injector puller for a 24 valve Cummins. I have their tools for doing valve springs and pulling the injector feed tubes on our common rail stuff, and it works phenomenal. We've done that a couple times, put injectors and, you know, pull the old feed tubes out and stuff like that, and put valve springs in and pull valve springs out, and the Torque tools just worked great. I saw that they had it for this, so that's what we're going to do. So let's get to diving under that valve cover and get some injectors installed. Unfortunately, some of our parts aren't here, like I said, with that front seal, so it's not like we can go test drive the truck right yet, but we can get the thing a little bit closer to back together. Alright guys, so I just want to show you how these Torque tools work. So for your feed tubes, which you have to pull in order to get the injector out, it's basically just a long threaded sleeve with a knurled end. So you're going to run that in, basically just thread it onto the feed tube. And if the feed tube's loose, you could probably just pull it out, or I mean, if you wanted to, you could pry on it. But how these tools are made, you just turn this thing in, and the thread is deep enough that you just kind of give it a little and grip. A couple of them I had to actually use channel locks in order to get it, but basically it runs and it pushes the feed tube out. And so that's how the Torque tool works. Like I said, just long threads, and you thread it right on there. It's exactly how their feed tube puller for the common rails work. Now, as far as the injector puller they have, another basic thing, it's basically a sleeve. You put over top of the injector a long threaded rod with a cap and a nut. So basically just run this in. They actually provide you an Allen with it. You could run it in by hand if you wanted to. This is really just makes life simple. So you run that in a little bit. Then I was just using this little Makita ratchet, which really isn't good for much torque. And you just run it in, and the whole thing pulls out. So definitely made this easy. I didn't even research. I just looked to see if Torque Tools had this stuff, because they were, makes life easy on the common rail. But I'm sure, I don't know what this thread is. I'm not sure if it's metric or what, but I'm sure this is all stuff that if you look, you could probably make yourself if you wanted to. Maybe not the feed tube puller, but anyway, definitely made life easy getting these injectors and feed tubes out. Now, as far as this all goes, what holds the injector down are these injector hold downs, which when at first glance, I thought that it was kind of like the common rails, where it's just, it's holding the top down instead of like the common rail has the sleeve and it goes to a shoulder. but it's actually a slotted end and then this kind of funky bolt, if you will, with a large smooth area, and then a through bolt here holding it down. So I actually have to look up and see what the torque is on all this stuff because, like I said, never done it before. And but I'm sure it's out there. These trucks are, this one's 22 years old, so that information is certainly out there and all. Also, as far as So that's kind of how you pull the injector. Now, how you actually get to the feed tube, which I should have covered first, you actually have to remove some injection lines. So what you need to do is go through and loosen all of the nuts that go to the feed tube, and then you're going to come down here to the VP44 and you're going to loosen like the first 3. And then there's also a couple miscellaneous clamps here that you have to undo. And then once you have the lines off of the VP44, you can actually pull the full assembly of the front 3 injectors. That will then allow you to get to the nuts on the VP44, and you can get that whole assembly out of here too. I didn't pull it, I just put it off to the side because it's got just this cable thing on the apps, which I moved the apps over here to get it out of my way as well. Also, I probably should have covered up our intake so we don't drop any of our bolts down there. Definitely that was something I missed, but you would have to pull your intake horn as well. So, on to a finding. As soon as I pulled the apps off, look at that. So, we know that the VP44 on this truck is not original. It is an industrial injection. I don't know if that's a part number I can look up or not. Let me try real quick and we will see. All right, so our industrial injection pump, I looked it up on their website. A 027 is a standard output pump. So this is just their replacement pump. So our pump has been replaced. We have absolutely no idea how long. I know the previous owner probably doesn't know either. He really didn't know much about, the truck or anything. There wasn't much he had to say about parts being replaced. So anyhow, that's how to pull our injectors. We'll get our new flux injectors installed, which I think basically the most critical thing is having the slash pointing this way with the hole for the feed tube obviously pointing this way so we don't have them backwards, which if I grab an old injector, so here's our slash. We're going to want that orifice pointing that way. That way our feed tube will be able to get in there. Also, I got to put our new O-rings on our feed tubes, and then we can slap those in too. So I'm going to look at the hole. I'm going to look up how to do this. I haven't done it before. I don't know if it's, like on a common rail, you will set your injector and then, trying to remember, you set the injector and then torque it a little bit, and then you put your feed tube in, you torque it a little bit, and then you torque this a little bit. You got to go back and forth a couple times. I don't think these are that complicated, but I will find out. First off, something else to do when you pull your old injectors out, make sure that when you pull them out, they have the copper crush washer with it. You don't want to double them up. Usually, anytime you pull injectors, they come off with the injector, but you just want to make sure that all 6 of your injectors have that off. So before we get to installing these beautiful new flux diesel injection injectors, how do we install these? So I looked it up. Mopar1973man.com. I've actually gotten a lot of information from his website already about these trucks. And a lot of you guys had actually mentioned his website to check out, which I thank you for. So how to install these injectors. So what we're going to do, we want to get a little engine oil and kind of put on our O-ring, which I'm making a mess of it. So get a little engine oil on there like with any O-ring so it seals up. Like I said, our feed hole, we're going to want to point toward where the feed tube is. We're going to put our injector in and just push with hand pressure. Right? So, once you have your injector... Alright, you're supposed to hear a snap. I forgot about that. So anyway, you'll hear it snap into place. So then you're going to take your little bridge. Another thing, the bolt with the land on it actually doesn't need to come out because of this slot. So I put all those back in. But basically now our injector is lined up. We can put our hold down in here. We're not 100% right here. All right, so I wasn't exactly lined up. I had to pull that bolt back out in order to get it lined up. So I'll put that back in. But basically how the instructions say to do it is you'll have that bolt in. We will put our hold down in that bolt, but now it is also in the groove in the top of the injector. We'll put our other bolt in, and we've already seated our injector, but then we are going to torque it to 89 inch-pounds. So let me tighten this up first. All right, and then 89 inch-pounds on the other. All right, so our injector is fully in. So then after that, we're going to take our feed tube and kind of do the same. Get a little oil on our O-ring just so we can get a good seal on that. And basically, that just gets pushed in. Same thing, you'll hear a little snap. So now it's in there, and then the last step of this process is actually to take our nuts for the feed tubes, which are connected to our injection line. We're going to put those in and torque that to 28 foot-pounds. So pretty simple procedure, and really lining that thing up was my problem. I could have gotten it right the first time without having to take that other bolt out. So we'll try that on this second one. So if I just line that groove, which once again, orifice in the right direction, line that groove up with the bolts. Whew. All right, snaps right into place. And then need this guy. And we're in our slot on our injector. So as long as you pay attention to it, which I didn't do it, I just got it close here. That's why I had to undo that bolt. But then start this bolt, and once again, we're going to torque this thing down to 89 inch-pounds, and we're going to repeat this for all 6 on the engine. All right, so we got 2 injectors down, 4 to go. All right, guys, so when I just shut my camera off, I did forget to zoom out from our first 2 injectors. So you saw that in depth. It's basically the same. Well, it's not basically. It's the same for all the rest. Just kind of snap your injector in, put the hold down on, and then put the feed tube in. You do need to tighten up your rear injection lines. 6, 5, and 3, the ones I left here in the truck. You need to tighten those up and then tighten them up to the VP44 before you do the other set that I had pulled out, 1, 2, and 4. And then you can tighten those up to the VP44. So pretty simple, pretty easy. Doing injectors on this truck is a fairly straightforward deal, not a big deal. So that brings me to over here, our tappet cover. So I kind of figured it was probably leaking. Didn't really get too involved in looking for the leak, which we pulled this all apart so we could get to a leak. So why did I do that? I don't know. But I got looking at it when I was hooking these injection lines back up, and we need to do something about that. So I pulled the computer just to see how bad it is. And if you guys see down there, we have just a bunch of just grime and crap, and we're gonna need to get the pressure washer in there after we get this all kind of buttoned up. Woo. All buttoned up. So I'm thinking about getting a tappet cover. One I was looking at, Bean Machine has one with a baffled like a baffled vent in the back, so you can run like your crankcase ventilation basically from there, and then into a catch can or what have you. My question to you VP44 guys, if I were to get a baffled vented billet tappet cover, can I then get rid of this on the front of the engine? Or does anybody even make a cover for this to delete this? And that way we can run our crankcase ventilation, you know, back there. We can run it up into wherever we need to a catch can or whatever, and then, you know, figure out a way to drain it back into the block. I don't know if we, you know, like I said, vented it up into the catch can and then drain back down. Just trying to figure out a way to delete this thing on the front, but I don't even know if there's a plate to delete it. So you VP44 guys, let me know. We will, when we go for the tappet cover, because I've kind of already decided I'm doing it. We're gonna have to pull our VP44 because we're already in here and all that. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think about that, or if you know a better solution. Like I said, even with the puke bottle on the front of these things, that's normally there, and you know, a lot of guys say, oh, they route it back along the frame. I'd really just like the truck not to leak, which I know for a VP44, you know, 24, well, for a second gen Cummins, we'll include the 12 valves, yeah, they just like leaking. So let me know that down in the comments. But we got our injectors in. That's all I was really worried about getting done tonight. But we still need to put our rockers back in, set lash, all that kind of stuff. But I just kind of want to give everything a once over and decide while we're all in here, while we're waiting on parts, what else should we be doing? So if you have any ideas, put it down in the comments below. So guys, that's going to do it for tonight. We just got an injector install done. Really, we could kind of button up the top of the valve, you know, put the rockers in, set valve lash, put the cover back on, the valve cover back on. We could do all that kind of stuff right now, but I'm just trying to figure out what my game plan is going forward. Really, that tappet cover should have been something that I suspected and all that. So anyhow, we'll get this all fixed up and figure out what our game plan is. That's another thing, our oil fill. We could get one of those oil fill caps with a filter on it. That might help as well. I'm just trying to have a truck that looks, well, like this, but is a little peppier and doesn't leak. That would be that'd be phenomenal. Maybe it's too much to ask for right now, but we are working in that direction. So I hope you guys found this video informative. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like the video, subscribe down below. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Get out in your garage, get the wrenching on your truck.